going to be the pilot episode of my series called Why Blank is the Best Character on the Dream SMP, where we break down and explain not only the personality of the character, but the reasons of their existence and how they even ended up in the server in the first place. Today's episode is going to be discussing Technoblade's character. Before we get into that, I'd like to ask you guys who are new around here to go and subscribe down below, as we're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers before the end of 2021. Oh, and also go make sure to check out my link down below where you'd find my Twitch and Twitter. I stream a lot on Twitch nowadays and be highly appreciated if you go out and check it out. Either way, let's get into this. So Techno is an anarchist opposed to government, as he considers them tyrannical and oppressive, and a co-founder of the Syndicate, an organization dedicated on upholding an anarchist ideology. He's also known for his dueling skills and prowess in battle. Yes, I just read that directly off of the Dream SMP wiki. You should go check it out after this video, as it's got a lot of useful information. Either way, Technoblade currently still has all 3 of his canon lives and has not lost a single one, as Technoblade never dies. Technoblade's main personality will tend to be he'll choose to fight whichever side promises to fight against tyranny, allowing him to use his weapons of mass destruction to achieve his goals. He does not care much about the interweaving loyalties of the other SMP members, as one of Techno's main guidelines is that the only universal language is violence. Occasionally he will make some speeches to other people in order to try and resolve things peacefully, but he's quick to resort to violence if it doesn't work. Technoblade is a proud man and shows off his skills and equipment whenever he can. He also claims that he has the entire SMP mapped in his head and calls himself the human GPS. Technoblade has a lot of material possessions and a lot of pets and animals that he keeps in his own care, and is of course always in search for the most powerful items on the server. Despite his violent and seemingly uncaring facade, he'll do anything in his power to protect those he cares about most notably Phil, which is honestly one of his key flaws, along with his wrath, as Technoblade is unwaveringly loyal to those he considers his friends and allies and is willing to go to nearly any lengths to keep them safe. Of course, in turn, earning Technoblade's loyalty and trust is extraordinarily difficult, and if Techno ever feels that someone as he trusted wronged him, he will always hold an intense grudge. By far the biggest example of his trade loyalty becoming an intense grudge and a massive wrath is how after Technoblade gets betrayed by Tommy and almost executed by the Butcher Army, and seeing how Lemannberg put Filzer into a house for zest, him, Filzer and Dream would end up completely destroying Lemannberg. After the Manberg and Pogtopia War, the original one which saw a temporary destruction of Lemannberg, Technoblade would give up on his violent ways temporarily and retired far away in the Arctic, where no one was able to find him aside from Phil, who had earned a special compass that led to his base. Whilst of course Technoblade had no hesitation to defend himself when provoked, he was willing to leave Lemannberg alone after the war, despite the fact that Lemannberg had gone back to an authoritative government after the war. He was attempting to change from his violent ways and started several different farms, such as a beef farm and a turtle farm, and seemed quite happy with his newfound pacifism. During this retirement, however, he secretly grinded for more than 100 wither skulls, which roughly to the amount that he had equated to around 55 different withers that he could spawn. By the way, we've only ever seen 15 of them being used so far, so there's still so many more to go that can be used in amongst any other events sometime soon. Either way, after the Butcher Army hunted him down, sentenced him to execution, Technoblade forced himself out of retirement and permanently broke his vow of peace, leaving his pacifism and returning to his violent ways for good in order to get revenge and destroy the Lemannberg government once and for all. Technoblade would formally end up destroying Lemannberg permanently with the help of Dream and Filzer. After of which, when Ramboot reveals the location of a stronghold nearby Techno's base, Techno and Phil went on a small mission to explore it and find the 12 indestructible blocks forming the square around in the portal room. Of course, in typical Dream SMP fashion, they had no idea what this is for, and seeing at the end was disabled, Dream would ultimately come up in his ult account, destroy the portal, but then Filzer and Techno would end up encouraging Dream just to put it back in a weird order that makes it unable to be opened but still leave the full function of the portal there for the potentiality use of a table. It would ultimately end up turning the entire portal room into the massive meeting room filled to the brim with many different little things such as ender pearl and stasis chambers, water elevators to get out of the area fast as possible as well as get in there quickly, as well as many other little things, including the quote Sheca Shemper Tyrannus, which I totally just butchered I believe, which when translated from Latin to English it converts to thus always slaves to tyrants. After the founding of the Syndicate, Techno began his quest to recruit specific candidates. He decided that Nikki would be a good candidate, mainly due to the burning of the tree in the Doomsday War. But before he could send her a message, C actually sent one to him, asking to meet up. Nikki would end up joining the Syndicate, and then later on Rambo would be pushed in to join it after he spies on Nikki join the Syndicate. Over the time span of the plot since Techno originally joined back in September, Technoblade has been betrayed by far the most times in comparison to most other people in the server, being first betrayed by Pogtopia, and secondly betrayed by Tommy Innit. It is also one of the few people remaining who still is siding with Dream and still doesn't see Dream in a negative light, despite everyone else in the server seeing it that way and locking him up in a prison. Oh, it doesn't stop the jokes that Techno has fun with.
Let me get right on that, man. Let me just jump right on over there and take him out and hope my pickaxe doesn't die while it happens. Even if he went AFK, it'd probably break. Yeah, let me get right on that.
According to a Reddit post by Wilbursuit on the Dream SMP Reddit, Wilbur amply describes Techno as a lawful neutral person. He explained, whilst Technoblade may seem chaotic due to his disregard for human life, he has still kept one of his intrinsic values to his entire character arc. Fuck the government. Techno has never strayed from this ideal and never will. He will make/lose friends around this ideal and won't care. Technoblade is also one of the few people in the server that has voices in their heads, which for those of you who are curious on what that means, it really just means his chat. Either way, the supposed voices in his head are very key in his plot and lore of his character, with the voices in his head being the main reason he resorts to violence, but over time he got better at ignoring them. But after his pacifist route, he would later succumb to the voices fighting back when the Butcher Army came to execute him, after which he would follow the voices and will lead to the destruction of L'Manberg. Whilst on Technoblade's first visit to the Crimson Egg, the voices prevented him from hearing the egg's whispers, filtering out anything the egg actually said, pretty much leading to the point that Technoblade is probably never going to get converted over or cursed or infected by the egg, just mainly due to the sheer amount of voices already in his head. But despite the voices in his head, Technoblade will always try to disregard these voices and always try to find a peaceful solution to these events first, even if he quickly gives up on peace in favor of violence, as violence is the only universal language. Anyhow, at this point in time, Filza and Rambo are the current core friends that Technoblade has, with Nikachu being a part of the Syndicate as well as Dream and a few other people still being neutral towards Technoblade. But then out of those few people, majority of the OG L'Manberg members, as well as the people who currently are aligned in a government of their own, still don't like Technoblade that much. On a technical level, the Antarctic Empire, part of the SMP Earth factions that Filza and Technoblade were both once a part of, are considered canon, as Technoblade can remember the entire details of it completely, while Filza is only able to remember it through flashbacks when in cold environments. Technoblade has even stated that he would have invited Filza to recreate the Antarctic Empire with him if he'd not been an anarchist. But either way, that's Technoblade's character, personality, and a few key moments in his story to help summarize his character for you guys. Again, if you want more information on Technoblade's character, the entire story of his character, what's led to him his current position, and so many more things along those lines, I highly suggest that you go check out the Dream SMP wiki, which I'll leave a link to Technoblade's SMP character page in the link down below. But either way, I've been your host Chris the SMP guy, and I'll see you guys next time.